G'day everyone, welcome back to another weekly tipping video on the channel. We're going to be going over my tips for round 23, the second last round of the home and away season. The ladder's starting to tighten up and boy oh boy are there some season defining games coming up this round. So let's get into the tips, shall we? Feel free to leave a like and subscribe if you do go and to enjoy today's video. And as always, let's start off with how it went last week. And dearie me, was it a shocking week for tipping for pretty much every single person that does participate. I got myself a 2 out of 9. Just a lot of those 50-50s weren't able to get, and it was a really good round of footy, but also a strange round. Up until Sunday, the games were either close and or quality, and there were just a handful of upsets. So I did go with the Pies on Friday night, and to be honest, they really should have won this game, but what on earth happened? Sydney kicked the last 5 goals of the game, and probably most likely end Collingwood's season in the process. What a fourth quarter it was from GWS. Geez, they are efficient at the moment. Went with North Melbourne again. Probably should have held on, but considered 3 goals in the last 90 seconds. Crazy finish in that game. Went with Fremantle at home, but disappointing loss for sure. But got to give the Cats their flowers. Certainly, I think their best win this season, especially on the road, and a side that continues to be written off, including myself a little bit. Port Adelaide got that one right, so that was my first correct tip of the round against the D's. Essendon, oh geez, the spirits will be low after a loss like that, but Mac Andrew, the star, kicking the goal off the siren. Suns finally getting a win away from home, about time. The Hawks just have to back them in with how they are playing, and geez, around an 80-point demolition this is. Carlton finished for this year, who knows. The Tigers, risky tip. I knew this one wouldn't pay off. I don't know. I just have this strange sensing that I think Tigers could pinch one more, but it isn't looking like it's going to be. The Saints far too strong. And geez, how about this? A bit of a ball over in Adelaide. The Crows played some of their best brand against the Dogs and knocked them off in a convincing fashion. So 2 out of 9 for the week. Quick look now at my tipping competition leaderboard update. As expected, nobody did get themselves a 9 out of 9. It shows you would have been hailed as a hero if you were able to do something like that. But we did get a handful of people in the comp get a 7 out of 7, which was the highest score. Well done to those people. And as for who is leading my competition, it still is Wet Toast Eagles. He's maintaining his lead with a total score of 153. So now let's begin with our tips for round 23. We start on the Friday night, the Dons and the Swans. Well, here we go again. What is it with this rivalry, Essendon and Sydney? Just always such close games. If Essendon lose this game, their season is, I'm pretty sure, 100% finished. And as for the Swans, if they're able to win, they pretty much lock in top spot, because I have the percentage to maintain their spot on the top should they only win one more game. The real question with Essendon for this game is, what type of Essendon are we going to witness? Are we going to witness the ones that it's late in the year, their season pretty much hanging by a thread and or done, and the players have down tools, the effort isn't there? Or are we going to get the one where they play pretty well on the rebound, especially this year? Look what happened against Fremantle. Are they going to get that midfield game going? They can control the football really well when they're up and about. Their uncontested game is definitely one of their strengths, and from what we've seen, when you are able to really dominate uncontested marks and the uncontested possessions, you find a way to beat Sydney. So the Saints have done it. Fremantle did it a little while ago too. That's really what I'm pondering with this game on Friday night with Essendon. As for Sydney though, well, much needed win I felt against Collingwood. They needed to treat that final quarter against the Pies as a bit of that season on the line scenario. Try and find a way to win. And is it the exact type of victory the Swans needed? A bit of the kick up the arse, get a bit of the players' confidence and synergy going, because that's been a big issue the past 2 months. So a lot of questions, a lot of thoughts about this game. It's going to be a big one. I think it will be close. This one, to be honest, goes either way. I'm probably going to back in Sydney here, though. Just feel like they have a bit more of that incentive to play. If they win this game, they most likely lock in top spot. And the Dons are also gettable, especially in the late stages of seasons. And I just think that class and the confidence they'll gain, I reckon, off that win last week against the Pies will definitely suit them too. So I'm going to go the Swans here in a close one by 6 points. Now for the Saturday games, first one up, we start with the Suns taking on the D's up there in the Goldie at People's First Stadium. Melbourne, their year is completely finished after the loss to Port Adelaide, but if I'm honest, I thought their effort was very good. What they've been able to produce, at least Melbourne, with their outs and the issues they've had at the club this year, is still play pretty good patches of footy. They eliminated Port's ball movement really well. They flooded the corridor. They defended well. Their defence and contest throughout stages of games is still very good. But it was the same old issues with their loss last week, though. They just could not put enough points on the board. Their connection forward to centre really let them down. That's certainly going to fix up taking on the Suns up there in the Gold Coast. They've only lost one game this year at home, the Suns, so definitely going to be tough to beat. Gold Coast spirits will certainly be sky high after they were finally able to nab a win away from home. McIndra off the siren, how good was that? Collins was huge late too. The contested game against Essendon in last week's game was certainly a positive, so that's another area to try and exploit, especially against Melbourne's midfield. But when looking at both sides' weaknesses, you could arguably say the connection inside 50 is definitely not one of their strong points. So it's really who is going to be more efficient going inside 50. Definitely want to give Melbourne respect with the circumstances they've gone under this year, and they've put up some really strong efforts against some good quality sides. I still think at their best they are certainly good enough, but with that loss last week, their season over, they can't make finals, heading up to Gold Coast. I think it's just a bridge too far in my eyes, and honestly I think the Suns can finish off the year really well, and they have a chance to have their best season ever in club history. And up there in Gold Coast, very tough at home too. They usually are able to control the midfield well, and they should get plenty of entries. So going to be going with the Suns here against the Demons, and yeah, a bit of a cagey affair I reckon, but yeah, Gold Coast run away with this one in the second half and win it by 20 points. Next game up at the same time, we have the Giants taking on the Dockers at NG Stadium. This is a huge game for both sides, certainly for top 8 and also top 4 chances. But regarding top 4 and Fremantle, they pretty much let it slip with their loss to the Cats last week, so certainly looking for a rebound. But speaking of the Giants, how good have they been the last 6 weeks? I think they have won 6 games in a row, building that and paving that premiership runway right at the perfect time, as we always talk about on the channel. And what I've loved about it is they've just been so efficient. Like, they lost the expected score against the Lions by around 20-30 points, but they kicked around 11 goals for, and their connection inside 50 has just been such a positive. 𝐬𝐿𝐴 𝐻𝐿𝐴 able to take those big clunks. 𝐼𝐷𝐻𝐿𝐴 gets involved. Darcy Jones was the winner in that fourth quarter as well against the Lions. So their pressure's been elite. They're getting a lot more from those role plays, and yeah, just a handful of contributors forward of the ball. So if Fremantle want to win this game, they've not only got to put on a good amount of scoreboard pressure themselves, but get back to some of their strengths. They've been one of the top sides with getting points off clearance, and especially off the stoppage too. Sarong, Hayden Young, Brayshaw really need to have solid impacts. Sean Darcy will return from injury, which will certainly help them with the hitouts, and get a bit of that confidence going with their ball movement, their high hand pass game through the corridor. They just can't be timid in this game, especially against the Giants, who are definitely going to bring some of their dynamic ball movement. Can't return to the old ways of stuffing players' stat sheets and just chip marking around the back half. The Dockers' finals chances as a whole are in serious jeopardy should they lose this game. They've got a lot to play for, so I don't mind them here for a bit of that upset tip, but I just simply think the Giants are just totally on song, and I've just loved how they are playing. I think when you get in that really good form, especially when you're able to connect so well for the ball, it's infectious, it's hard to break apart. And they've started games poor, but they just get back into it. They're a really well-drilled side. They might not play the best four-quarter efforts, but they just get in the games and finish off games really strongly. So if Fremantle can bring a bit of that midfield dominance, I think that could be the edge for them to get up here. But Giants at home, it's just hard to go against them. So I think they'll knock off the Dockers here with the class they have, and they'll maintain their spot in the top 4. And I'm going to go the Giants in a close one by 11 points. Moving on to the next game, we have Collingwood taking on the Brisbane Lions at the MCG, 4:35 p.m. Well, I was seeing on social media across this weekend, the Pies are still a very slim chance of actually making the finals, but they've got to start off with knocking off the Brisbane Lions here. Grand final rematch back at the MCG. And yeah, how we're going to see Collingwood bounce back with this game. It was a heartbreaker for all those Collingwood supporters especially. And that's been an issue this year. They have not finished games off as well as they have the past few seasons. Look at Fremantle and look at Sydney conceding the last 5 goals of the game. They seem to play a lot more of a different style against the Swans last week. A bit of a slow build-up, a bit of that uncontested style game. But you'd think back at the MCG here, they'll get back to some of their strengths of fast ball movement through the corridor and try and expose Brisbane a little bit on the transition game. That's been a bit of a weakness for the Lions this year. And look what the GWS were able to do. Move it really well, get a bit of that dynamic ball movement going through the middle of the ground. The Lions, though, certainly looking to bounce back after a game where they probably should have won against the Giants. They were in control for pretty much the whole game up until halfway through the fourth quarter, and then all of a sudden Darcy Jones just snapped his fingers and they were able to get on top. They were very inaccurate whilst the Giants were. They should have put the game to bed earlier. They missed a lot of chances early too. So I just think it's a bit of a blip on the radar for Brisbane. Still are a pretty quality side and yeah, still a very experienced side, especially in these late stages of the year. So I think Collingwood will definitely give this game a bit of a shake-up. Look, it's at home of the MCG, so they certainly could be in the box seat here to win this game. But I just think Brisbane sitting in 5th place, and usually late in the year they do find ways and they just get these games sort of done and tick them off. So yeah, Brisbane, hard to go against them. I think they'll find a way to knock off the Pies here. They've just got so many damaging players in their forward half and also in their midfield, and they're a side that really can punish well off the turnover too. So going to go the Lions in this one. They'll beat the Pies here at the MCG and they'll run away with it and win by 18 points. Now for the Saturday night games at Marvel Stadium with the first one up, we do have the Saints taking on the Cats at Marvel Stadium. Now this one is, I think, certainly a danger game for the Cats when I look at this matchup right off the bat. What I've liked about the Saints, I think probably the last 6 weeks or so, is their midfield has definitely, I felt, improved. 𝐓𝐿𝐴 has been excellent there. Jack Steele, I think he's been in sensational form with his contested ability. Sinclair's floating in there a bit. And Rowan Marshall's impact for the ball has also definitely been a strong side. He's been able to take some marks when the Saints are able to move in transition. Really good overhead and kick some good set shots. As for the Cats, I felt it was one of their wins of the year, knocking off the Dockers over there in Perth last week. Not many people gave them a chance, including myself, and they just do it all the time. The Cats, they always write people off, and they were really quality. Paddy Dangerfield, and I thought Blitzarves behind the footy was excellent, and Stanley really was able to beat Jackson well in the ruck, I personally felt too. Shannon Neal, he's been great the last few weeks. He's just ticking the boxes, getting it done as that Tom Hawkins replacement. The higher forwards are heavily contributing to the scoreboard too, and just love their contested game. It really was led by Paddy Dangerfield, of course. So it's under the lid, it's at Marvel. The Saints play their best footy here. Oh, don't mind them here for an upset tip. They're only 7% tipped at the time of recording this video, which is, yeah, pretty low. But the Cats, they've got a pretty good look in last 2 games for the rest of the year. If they win this, and then they play the Eagles at home next week, they could probably finish top 2. So I'll sway here towards the Cats with the tip for Saturday night. It's one that could be, I think, a really close game. I think the Saints will certainly, this is just such a St Kilda game to be a thorn in a good team side and potentially finish off their season well, the Saints. But no, I think the Cats here will get it done. They're just a quality side and really good chance to finish in the top 2 should they win this game. So Geelong to win this, and we'll go with them by 8 points. And then the other Saturday night game, we have the second showdown of the season, Port taking on the Crows at the Adelaide Oval. Well, the Crows, what a shock when it was last week, but yeah, geez, you'd be pretty pissed off this year as an Adelaide supporter. You've seen the good of your side, you've seen the awful of your team, but what they were able to really do well against the Dogs, I felt, was just their ability to spread from the contest well and move it end to end really nicely. They've been one of the better sides this year and getting a lot of points from their defensive half. Probably was a little bit at the expense of the Dogs' really poor defence on Sunday, but Fogarty, probably the best game I've seen him play of his career. Just so strong overhead. He just absolutely dominated 𝐓𝐿𝐴 𝐼𝐴. Rankin going to play his second game in a row, so we'll gain a bit of that match fitness after coming back from suspension. And of course, they've got a really good record against Port Adelaide. Always seem to play their best brand of footy every time they face off against the pair. I think the last 2 years they've won every single showdown game, and they've really been able to exploit Port defensively, especially in transition, get a bit of that slingshot style going and really beat them out one-on-one and catch them napping. But certainly got to give Port some respect here. Their last 8 weeks have been very good. They've gone from just winning consistently, but also not got off sides like Sydney by 112 points. The game's just in really good check. They obviously love to take the corridor on. They've got players in great form. Dan Houston's been kicking excellently. Excellently, is that a word? I'll say it is. Connor Rozee and Zach Butters been great in the midfield, but also Ollie Wines and Willem Drew, they've been able to win plenty of contested ball, which allows Rozee and Butters to use it a little bit on the outside and show a bit of impact forward of centre. Interested to see how the pair will set up their forwards though. Todd Marshall's down with concussions, so does 𝐼𝐿𝐴 maintain his spot down forward, or will they bring someone in like Ollie Lloyd? They probably don't want to go too tall, because when we've seen Port Adelaide with a pretty tall forward line, they can struggle with a bit of entries, like they did against the Crows last time out when they kicked like 4 goals 12. So with how Adelaide match up against Port, I really like them for the tip here, but I think this is the game where surely Port are due to finally get a showdown win. And just with how they are playing, the game's in good check. They've got players in great form. I think this is the time when they're finally able to get one back and get a bit of revenge. So Port Adelaide here, going to back them in. Close game though, but the pair to show a bit of quality late and win it by 14 points. Moving across now to the Sunday games. First one up at 1:10 p.m. at Marvel Stadium. We do have the Dogs taking on the Kangaroos. The Dogs, a bit of an unexpected loss last week against the Crows, but I think a lot of Bulldog supporters wouldn't be surprised. Just the inconsistencies strike again. Really uncharacteristic loss it was from what we've seen the previous 3 weeks. Their midfield dominance, both ends of the ground, was in really good order, and that just went all out the window. Defensively, were massively exposed. 𝐓𝐴𝐞 𝐎𝐥𝐿 has struggled a bit against 𝘼𝐻𝐻𝐿𝐷𝐻, as we said earlier in the video, and their midfield just weren't able to spread from contest as well as the Crows midfielders. So against North Melbourne side, not much to play for. They are one of the top highest hand passing sides in the comp, especially with their high hand pass game through the corridor. They move excitingly. They can really get on top of clearance when 𝘼𝐻𝐻𝐿𝐷𝐻 and 𝑚𝐶𝐰𝐶 will get firing. They're just going to have a real red hot crack here and maybe put the Dogs under a bit of pressure. So I could definitely see a world where North genuinely win this game. But am I brave here to tip the Kangaroos? The answer, probably not. I think the Dogs back under lid at Marvel, at their playpen, play their best brand of footy here. So they're in still a really good position to maintain their spot in the top 8 if they win this game. And very inaccurate too. Sam Darcy, 𝘼𝐻𝐻𝐻 in front of the 𝘐𝐿𝐷𝐻𝐿, they were pretty shocking overall. So just think they'll bounce back at home here against the Kangas. But the Kangaroos will make it tough, but the Dogs' quality to run away with it. And they'll get a 1 here on the rebound. The Dogs to win this one by 24 points. And at prime time at 3:20 p.m. we have the Hawks taking on the Tigers at the MCG. Well, how about them Hawks? 80-point roughly win it was against the Blues, and geez, they're one of the more informed teams in the competition. And now discussions are beginning. How far can they go come finals time? We're talking about this side that started off 0-5 and completely cut away at their list, and a lot of people had them for the spoon last year. Now we're talking about, can they win a couple of finals, and could they even win the flag? I mean, it's very excited and very hard not to get excited about watching this team, I should say, sorry. Their dynamic ball movement has just been a joy to watch. A lot of their youngsters have been high on morale, and they're just the cohesion, they're just the complete package, really, watching them in the second half of the season. Contested games been great. Burley moved the ball from the back half's been pretty special too. Look what they did against the Blues, just simply ran them off their feet, end to end. Dylan Moore working really well high up the ground. Connor McDonald clinical in front of goals. And they're just games in really good order. And versing a side like Richmond, who are most likely going to be picking up the wooden spoon, and what we usually see from these bottom 4 sides where the season's practically over, plays down tools a little bit. I can't really see the Tigers be good enough to pinch this game here. So I'm expecting a big Hawthorn win at home. Yeah, the Hawkies should win this game well. Go the Hawks here by 40 points. And for the final game of the round, we have got a very, very intriguing matchup here. The Eagles taking on the Blues at Optus Stadium. If we're looking at this tip halfway through the year, where Carlton have a pretty full strength squad, we're thinking, yeah, the Blues easily here. They run away with it by 20 plus. But the tables have turned a wee bit. Carlton now out of the 8. And not only that, injuries left, right and centre. And to be fair, they've had it probably since the bye, with a few players like McGovern or Saar going down here or there. But no Charlie Curnow, no Harry Mackay, no Adam Saad, still no Chera, still no De Koning. These are genuinely their core players, minus Paddy Cripps, Wiedering and Walsh. I don't think I've seen the Blues play in a long time without Curnow and Mackay on the side. So the question is, how are they even going to line up? Are they going to throw Matty Mitch McGovern forward of centre? Are they going to debut someone like Harry Lemmy or debut Ashton Moyer? So I think maybe a few new players will come into the side here. So that's just the question, like, how are they going to line up? How are they going to play? Because these are just such critically important players. And I just scratch my head thinking, are they good enough to even win this game? They went down to Hawthorn by 80 points. You look at West Coast, they've won 2 games in a row. Their contested game has been really improved the last few weeks. 𝐼𝐻𝐿𝐷𝐻's been great in there. I thought Tim Kelly's game was pretty solid too. And Jeremy McGovern, all of a sudden now he's turned into his 2018 best. Or to be fair, he's been very good all year long. But his fourth quarters the last 2 weeks has just been outstanding. And I think they've just overall, both ends of the ground, been really solid in the air. I think the Eagles can generally win this game. And to be fair, they've won some games at home. They've beaten some good sides at home, like Melbourne early in the season. And the Carlton, looking at it, players like Morale, injuries hurting them. Look, I just think because it's Carlton, because it's probably still a better side on paper, they should most likely find a way to win here. But I'm losing. I think my confidence has slipped a little bit on the Blues. Just have doubts with their personal issues. So I'm going to go the Eagles here. I think they've got not really much to play for. They're going to be certainly happy, though, that they're not going to be picking up the wooden spoon. I think the Eagles really put a number here in the Blues and win this one well. Do what they did against their win over the Demons. Just absolutely blow them out of the water with a bit of their good ball movement end to end. So, yeah, I reckon the Eagles win this game and we'll go West Coast by 17 points. So everyone, there are my tips for round 23. Let me know what your tips are going to be down below in the comment section. Always love to hear your people's opinions, and geez, have I got some tough ones to predict here. I got 2 out of 9 last week. A lot of people went poor, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of upset tips and upset games happen this weekend. But keen for the round. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you did go to enjoy today's video. And until next time, I'll talk to you later. See you later, fellas.